Mirror of Philosophy. Written by anonymous author. Anyone who wants to know the highest and most realistic knowledge of art and the wisdom of the high whiteness should look at this current book diligently and read it with seriousness every now and then they will become aware of and share in their desired goal and in the end. Now listen, you children of the ancient wise men, then I come along and want to appear to you with the highest and longest stone as always possible and to reveal to you the state of human things and the most secret treasure of the entire world, but rather discover in the most certain and friendly way. For this reason and for this reason we want to listen with such devotion, as I will diligently present to you the teaching of our mastery. Then I will give you much better and more credible testimony of the things that I myself have seen with my eyes and touched with my hands against all fraudsters and land grabbers that I have ever done, who applied a lot of costly effort and work and ultimately did nothing else to produce a miserable outcome. That's why I want to tell you everything clearly and obviously, so that both the inexperienced and the experienced can understand something about this mastery, and so that no one can accuse us of it. Then the old wise men wrote things so uselessly and so confusingly that not only can one not understand their writing, but they also did not agree together, which is why the main reason for this is that they either deceive those who strive for such noble art or else could deter you from your interests. For myself, however, I want to put away all falsehood and darkness and present the truthful experience to you in its entirety, and therefore add the opinions of the wise who best serve this purpose, so that the whole matter of what we are doing can be understood more clearly and clearly. That's why we're telling you first of all that all those who work here outside of nature are frauds and vagabonds, and that they work in an unusual way. Then apart from a human being, nothing but a human being is born. So even from an unreasonable animal or animal, only one animal is thrown that gives birth to everything like it. Therefore, whoever does not have a thing that is his own cannot have the same thing of his own pleasure except for another thing that is not his own. But we say this so that no one wastes their money in vain and then cheats the fraudsters due to their gross ignorance and brings them into poverty. If they would also like to deceive others and bring them into poverty, I would advise that no one engages in this art. He would then have been killed beforehand at an unbearable expense. The matter is the most difficult thing to invent and has made fools of many people because of it, but once in a while if you have invented something else, you won't need a lot of other things, just one thing, and it won't cost much more, then it's just a single stone, a medicine, in a certain order, and this is the wisest of all, but the wise never certainly had so many different colors. Even in the same order they then describe what they have seen and discussed before. That's why we have to open this saying that everyone who works outside of natural things is being deceived and that they too are deceivers. Therefore, your work should be in the manner of nature, so that you will value it more than ever. Then our stone grows like an animal and is therefore earthy, so if you have a persistent mind and will in the work of nature, you should not try to do this now, but try something else in your hand. Then our art is not dispensed with in many ways but in one thing. It will now be called the thing in different ways with various strange names. However it may, so it is always just a few things of a few things. Nature is not improved solely in its own natural properties. Johannes Andreas in the book Der Spiegel speaks about the title of the Felshern. You should know that the art of alchemy is a gift of the Holy Spirit, and you should know that in our time we had Master Arnold de Villanova in the Roman court, an excellent doctor, and the Holy Scriptures of which I wrote above about the keeping of the fasts, the Cap, Concilium, and C, who was a great alchemist. He made gilder dishes and table talk, which he had evaluated in all the tests. That no one could master this art or assume it was then that he first went to it and made up his mind that he wanted to use a lot of money in it. Is a difficult and hidden thing to invent. The mirror. There have been some wise people who have said that this was the most terrible thing of all. With the permission of their skill, I also ask the Creator of heaven and earth, who created everything, that this thing you are looking for cannot be bought for no money. Arnoldus says therefore it must necessarily follow that the active and the suffering is that the material in which one works and the active both in common is a single and equal thing, but has a different shape and image, and is different in the same way as a woman is different in the properties of that. No matter how they are both human beings, they still have a different effect on each other, and yet both are human beings. No matter how it happens in the form and matter, then the matter has to suffer so that one works in it, but the form has an effect and always wants to make the matter the same. That is why the material by nature desires the form or the shaped images, just as a woman desires a man and the evil desires the good, so also the body grasps the spirit more freely so that it cannot reach any perfection where you will know the natural roots. If you make the best of it, then we may in no way explain the name of this stone to you or call it by some other names, but by interpreting its roots we also give its name in its revelation, which is why our stone is called by the Wisen. Same thing that holds in itself and from itself all things that are necessary for its perfection. Arnoldus. That is why it is understood from the previous speech that our stone is made of the 4 elements and that the poor have it as much as the rich and that it is found everywhere and compared to all things. It is also put together or placed from the corpse of soul and spirit. He also converts himself from one kind into the other towards the goal of his ultimate perfection. She also said that our stone will be made from one thing, and that is true. Then our entire mastery will be done with our water. Then the same water is the cream of all metals, and all metal will also melt into the same water as indicated is then the imperfect one. It has been converted into the first water, and so these same metallic waters are poured into our water and put together they make a clear water which cleanses all things and contains all the necessary parts in itself, and this is the most valuable and worst of it, and through it we become ours masterfully. Then it dissolves the corpse, but not with the dissolution of the body, because the unwise people say that they turn the bodies into the water of the cloud, but rather it dissolves the body after the wise dissolution, whereby the body is turned into the very first water out of it. Historically, the ablution of the same water turns the body into ashes. Arnoldus. The mediocre experience shows the order between the different sizes of the furor. Then in the dissolution it should always have a mild or gentle furor, but in the sublimation, that is in the increase or overly dilution, it should be mediocre. In the cleaning or in the coagulation, tempered. In the whitening, persistently strong in becoming red. But if you err in these things with your ignorance, you will weep very openly for the misfortune and your work. That is why it is your responsibility to do your work diligently and diligently. Then the understanding will help the art likewise. Art helps against reason. Let all other things go and pay attention only to the completion of the work. Aristotle. That's why the wise man says that the artists of alchemy should know that the shapes of metals cannot be unstable unless they are destroyed. Maybe you'll turn them into their first original and then they'll be unstable, because they'll be in a different form and shape than they were before. This is why the breaking down or destruction of some things is a gift of the other thing, just as much in art as in natural things. Then art forms in nature, and in some things it improves and surpasses nature and thus becomes open to diseased nature, helped by the speed of the doctors. The mirror. That's why you should use the noble and venerable nature. Then nature is not improved, then only in its own nature. You should not add or introduce anything foreign to it, neither powder nor various things, then various different things or natures. Our stone does not improve in that either. If something foreign is added to this stone, it will soon be destroyed and will therefore not be taken out of its place to search for it. The mirror. That's why I would like to let you know that at the beginning of the cooking process you add the same or similar things to the dough without any hand rubbing until everything turns into water, and you won't have found the right thing yet. That's why I want to let you students know and make known to you this most delicious secret, which is why you don't try to do anything else, that this mastery is nothing different, neither just that you boil the mercury and sulfur so long that they become one thing. Then mercurius protects the sulfur from burning so that the vessel is closed, so that the mercurius may not disappear, so the sulfur may never burn or be destroyed. Then the mercurius is probably the very first water that everything that is in it does not burn, because it has the water. It is no matter how strong it is, but it is the same. If water is consumed, everything that is in the dish will be burned. That is why the wise men have ordered at the mouth of the vessel should be closed, so that the water, which is known to be blessed, does not smell but is protected from burning that which is in the vessel. And when the water is mixed with the same things is added so that it does not burn the fire, and the same things are created. The more the fire flames practice and work, the more the water becomes hidden from the innermost things so that it is not injured by the heat of the fire. The water pushes this thing into his stomach and drives away the flames of the fire. But I create that all researchers of this art should at the beginning of the work take a gentle furor or something until the water and furor suffer each other, and as soon as you will see that the water is constant and will never rise or swell above itself, you must not continue. It's important to be careful about how the fire is created or how big it is. But it's good that you keep the fire in good patience until it lasts, until the body and spirit become one thing, so that the physical things become incorporeal and the non-corporeal things become corporeal. Then we talk about nature and kind of medium things. That's why DZ water, this thing DZ makes white and red. This water kills and makes alive, this water burns and makes white, this water melts and rhymes together, this water rots and then turns green and gives birth to a new thing. That's why, my dear son, I want you to ensure that your whole responsibility is to ensure that the things are cooked properly. Don't let it bother you because you want to have the fruit in another way, and don't let you worry about other useless things, but only pay attention to boiling this water and boiling it finely and only slowly, and let it rot until it changes from one color to another completely, and be careful not to burn its flowers at the beginning of this work, and also not to do your work too soon. And make sure that your door to the vessel is well locked, so that the one who is inside does not escape from it. So with the blessing of God you will reach perfection. Nature carries out its effects slowly and leisurely, but I want you to do the same and imagine and judge your work according to nature, and also see how and what masses and what causes the physical metals to boil out of nature in the veins and passages of the are born on earth, and you should imagine this through righteous and natural outward thinking. Likewise, you should see what kind of things they harm or rise above you. So let your work rule and you will find perfect art. So keep this water in your hand with its good effects, then it will make the white white and the red red. The mirror. Therefore it is necessary that our stone be extracted from the nature of two corpses beforehand, and before a perfect elixir becomes from the same stone, then it is necessary that this elixir should be better purified and separated from the gold and silver, so that it should be all previous and imperfect metal if they turn into the gold and silver of the wise, which they at least cannot make perfect. Then if the perfect metals give and communicate something of their perfection to another, they themselves will remain imperfect because they do not like white colors, then no thing knows further than as far as its whiteness extends. That is why these things and works happen in our stone, so that the color in it is not improved in its nature, and so that from it an elixir is put together according to the hidden saying of the wise, out of water light things, some roots, a medicine and a purification of all corpses and cleanses to be presented in true silver and gold. Here rises to the table of great art Saint Alchemy. Firstly, in our green lion we have the real material, no matter what color it is, and it is called a drop, a lot, or dunek topum. Secondly and thirdly, we have how the corpse in the mercurio dissolves into our mercurial water, from which a new body is born. Fourthly, we have the putrefaction of the wise men, which has never been seen in our time and is called the brimstone. In the fifth we have how the majority of this water has become a black, stinking earth, of which all the wise men speak. Sixthly, we have what masses of these black earths initially stood on the water and gradually sank to the bottom of the vessel. Finally, we have seen how the earth dissolved again and melted into water and was transformed into the color of oil, and then called oleum philosophorum, or an oil of the wise. In the eighth we have how the dragon is born in the sword and is fed with his mercurio, and how he kills himself in it and drowns, and the water begins to turn partly white, and that is the elixir. For the ninth time we have seen how the water effectively cleanses itself of the sword and remains a milky color, and many colors also appear in the sword. At the end we saw how the black mist that was there in the dishes on the water had risen down into her corpse so that they were gone. On the 11th, we have the ashes in the whitest color, shining like marble, and the elixir is white and the child is ashen. On the 12th we have how the white has been turned into a translucent red like a ruby, and that is elixir on red. And if you want to understand the whole work, read this little book from one part to the other and you will see miracles in our time. I have seen all of this thing until the 9th of Leo. I ask God to grant me grace to see this strange end. According to Arnaldo von Neuendorf, I believe that this work was made. I've seen all of this thing, and if I hadn't seen it or touched it, I wouldn't have known how to write it or even really. I have now said all the visible, unnecessary parts of this work, and there are quite a few things about it that it is not appropriate for people to talk about, but I have painted it except for one thing that is perfect, and I know that such a work has never been painted nor seen in its flower, and testimonies to the teachers for this purpose. Then it is impossible to know this. You should then know it from experience or from a teacher who teaches it, and you should know this work has the longest path of all, so it is necessary that one be patient and delayed in this work and not be too slow or impatient. The mirror. There are a number of fantasists who boast that they can make a gold potion or aurum potable out of common gold, or that they also believe that the same gold potion is the best way to cure and resist all diseases, and there are also a number of doctors who sift ducats in water and speak about how this is the noblest and most useful thing for health, if it is contrary to what you do with it. That drinking gold or water is not a real drink gold, nor is this water good or useful for getting well, but rather evil and evil to drink. Then it is neither the common thing gold and other metals are good for recovery or healing. But I would like to say that such gold is good for buying the medicine and confections and what belongs to the sick, also to pay off the doctor. It is also good that he has a bag full of ducats that he can show it to the sick, because it serves him very well that he looks at the gold. But the right gold trance or aurum potable of the wise is the manufactured elixir, and the same is the aurum potable, not visible but more than possible. Then it is the greatest and highest medicine that makes everything superfluous. If it drives out metals from human bodies, then it converts all imperfect metals into the best and most genuine gold, and in the same way it cleanses all imperfect metals from all leprosy and disease. So also the human corpse, and this is the most certain and not at all doubtful, and you can see that this is the opinion of all wise men. But those fools who regard the common gold as aurum potable are blind and, moreover, blind deceivers. If the common gold gives some of its perfection to another, the same gold will remain imperfect in itself. Our medicine is composed from nature in duobus montibus arboribus cities. On the 2 mountains there are trees. Your father is a virgin. His mother does not receive. Come here, my dearest. We want to help each other and give birth to a new son who will not be like his parents. This is a king with the head red, the eyes black, the feet white. This is the mastery. Behold, I come to you and am completely ready to receive a son whose like there is no one in the wide world. Thomas Aquinas. But the material of the stone is a coarsely thick water that causes the same water to be hardened either by the worms or by the cold, and you should believe that these stones are much more noble than those from the Turin asterisk, nor those that come from anywhere else. You will not be able to build any stone without the green and water-pure dunac, which grows in our ores. Rhasis philosopher. Son, visit the highest mountains on the right and left hand and climb up to where our stone is found, and on the same mountain that bears and brings all kinds of paint and spices is also our replacement. Alchemical philosopher. The stone that is needed in our work is a dangerous thing. You can find this at all ends and places, on the plains, on the mountains and in the waters. The rich as well as the poor have it. It is also the most beautiful and the most beautiful dearest of all. He grows out of flesh and blood. Oh, how precious and noble he is to those who know him. Arnoldus. O you blessed green one who gives birth to all things, O you blessed nature, and blessed is your birth. Then you make the perfect out of the imperfect with a real coloring that is black and dark, after which you make new green and various things with the green, making you many different colors shine here. Therefore, don't take this nature. It's all fun, terribly clean and fair, but if you act differently it won't be of any use to you. Let us go to the solution sought by the philosophers. Emis quisidum solutionum philosophorum. Here the solvency of the philosophers is fanned out and becomes our quicksilver. We want to go and look for the nature of the 4 elements that the alchemists bring from the belly of the earth. Here approach the dissolution of the wise men and become our quicksilver. Our stone is unpliable and has a slightly long sound that kills and brings life to life. The mirror. See that nothing foreign or disgusting is mixed with our stone, just set it alone. Arnoldus. If our servant joins his sweet-smelling sister, they will give the art together, then the white shining woman will be brought to the red man, so soon they will help each other, and in helping they will be together coupled by themselves. They are separated and killed by themselves so that the 2 become one corpse. The mirror. You asked how many of the right colors are. I would like to tell you right. You should know that there are 3 perfect colors in addition to which the others all have their beginning. The first color is black, the other is white, the third is red. There are also many other colors on it. You shouldn't turn around, otherwise you'll see a lot of other colors in front of the white color. Hortulanus philosopher. There the joining of the 2 bodies coats the same is necessary for our mastery, and even if apart from these 2 bodies there is only 1 body in our stone, it will never give any tincture, which is why it will be necessary for the same 2 bodies to be joined together, and when the 2 are now joined together and in the joining of the stone accept one another or have been accepted, the stone is then impregnated in the belly of the wind. This is now what the wise man said, the wind carried him in his belly. It is evident that the wind is the air and that the air is life and the life is the soul, which is oil and water. Hermes philosopher. I, who am exalted above all the circles of the world, have seen 4 faces that had one father. One face is in the mountains, the other in the air, the third in the stones, the fourth in the shells. This stone is made from 4 composite elements. Here the bodies dissolve completely into our living mercury, which is in the water of our mercury, and from it becomes a permanently stable water like this. O Luna, through my friendly gaze we will see you as beautiful as I am. Oh, if you are above all light, you need me as the hand of the hens. Introvert the nature of the 4 elements and then you will see and find what you are looking for, but the natures are perverted so much that the corpses are turned into ghosts in our mastery. First we make a tender thing out of a rough thing, that is, out of a body we make water, and then we make a body out of water, so the physical thing becomes incorporeal and the incorporeal physically. We make what is down to be above and what is above to be below. King Hermes. When will the bodies be properly dissolved? After they have been brought into the nature of the spirit and will never be separated from one another, so to speak, one water mixed into another can never be separated. Hermes. And the whole work and government is nothing other than the water that contains everything that we need. Therefore, keep this water and its good effects in your hand. It will turn the white into the white and the red into the red. Anaxagoras philosopher. But it is a single thing that contains the soul, the air, the calf and the 4th element over which it rules, and it is not necessary to add other elements to it that do not agree in its nature. Rotting the wise, you raven head. Putrefactio, nigrito, transponas. Piercing and bright swords. Here the bodies are putrefying and become earth, and when you get the sword toes, rejoice, then these swords are a beginning of your work. He needs to become lazy. Whatever color appears after the sword is physical. The mirror. Here the bodies are put into putrefaction and become a black earth, and when you see the material become black, rejoice, this is a beginning of your work. Arnoldus. Burn our bell spit gently until it becomes a body and the tincture is pulled out. But you shouldn't mix such a tincture with each other and let it come out little by little every day until a long time has passed. Hermes philosopher. I am the black color of the white and the red color of the white and the yellow color of the red, and truly I am truthful in speaking and am not a liar, and you should know that the head of this art is the raven who is in the sword of the night and in the clarity in the day without wings fly out of the bitterness that is in his mouth. The color is taken away, but the redness is taken away from his body, and pure water is taken out of his hands. Hermes philosopher. Therefore you should understand and receive the gift of God and behave before all the unwise. Then it is outside the halls, the metal is hidden, its stone is earthly, and it lies in apparent color in high mountains, a wide open sea. See, I have laid out all the figures for you. Arnoldus. But if it turns black first of all, we say that these same swords are a key to the work, then it cannot be closed without swords. Then the swords are the tincture or color that we are looking for here, with which we tincture every body, which tincture is hidden in its bell. Food is like the soul in the human body. Mirror. Therefore, dearest son of all, when you will be in the work, be diligent so that you have the black color first, then you will be sure that you will rot the set thing and understand the right path. Donor, king and philosopher. O you blessed nature, and blessed is your effect. then you may make a perfect one out of the imperfect ones with the real putrefaction that is there, black and dark, then you make new greens and various things with your green you make various colors appear. In our work and mastery we should be patient and long-suffering, then the devil's contribution to this mastery will come. The raven head. What is above the material is dark mists, it is cicer or smoke. This earth that is there above the water in the other dishes will descend to the bottom of the dishes and worms will grow out of it. The wise men see even more that the material becomes thick and is turned into the earth, and that this thickening initially stood on the water and slowly allowed it to become thick. They saw that the earth sank into the water and stood on the ground under the water. The earth was yellow, black and smelly. They said this was the real destruction. Mirror. According to the usage of the wise men, one should diligently regulate the holiday in the oven by dissolving all the material into water and then cleansing it with a mild, gentle seasoning until the majority of it turns into a black earth, which happens in 21 days. Giver. Dearest son, you should know that art is nothing else than a complete statement from God, then this entire mastery stands only in one thing. This is what we want to show you through the sayings of the wise men, and after that measurement, as we ourselves have seen and prepared with great work and speed, and we have recognized that the same thing is completely too white and raw for itself. We also have no other thing that we would like to find in it. So much of the perfection is found in the physical transformation of the body or the perfect preparation, it would then have to follow first that it would have to be completely destroyed and blackened. Arnoldus. Therefore be firm and diligent in your work, and in all things remain patient in the boiling, so that the tincture goes out onto the water into the black color, and when you will see that the sword moves onto this water, so know that the whole body has melted, and if it has melted, then one should hold on to it in a linden way until it sees the mist that it has given birth to, dark and gloomy. The opinion of the wise is that now the body, which has now become a black powder, should enter into its water, and that it will all become one thing. Then one water will perceive the other water as its own nature, therefore it is then that everything will be turned into one water, otherwise you will never come to a perfect end. The black raven head. The black earth in which worms grow. This is the black and stinking earth of the wise men, in which worms grow as one swallows the other, then the destruction of one thing is the giving of the other, then this earth is at the bottom of the vessel and is completely dissolved in the water as before. The question here is at what time the stone was turned black and what the sign of its proper dissolution was. If I answer when the black color appears, then the same sword mark is certainly a sign of the stone's real rotting and dissolution, but when the sword mark has completely disappeared, then it is a sign that the stone has completely rotted and dissolved. Arnoldus. It is asked whether the same black mist remained on the prepared stone for 40 days in a row. Answer yes, and sometimes longer and sometimes shorter. This change and difference of the body and size of the medicine after the same is little or a lot even after the workmeister is experienced, then a large part of the medicine needs a short time and a small part of the medicine needs a short time, hard work, etc. Cleverness of the worker helps a lot in the separation of the swords. Arnoldus. The question is how long this decay and purification of the earth lasts. Answer 40. Whole day, sometimes longer sometimes shorter, depending on whether there is a lot or a little of the earth. Rabenkopf is the oil of the wise. Here fermented the new black sun, whose name is called elixir. The same black, stinking earth has turned into living mercury and dissolved into an oil color, hence it is called the oil of the wise. Arnoldus. But the gold is dissolved so that it is brought into its first material, which is that it becomes the real sulfur and the living mercurius. Then we can make the best silver and gold, and the gold before it is converted into the material of the silver and gold, so it should washed and boiled so much that it becomes real sulfur and living mercurius. Then, according to the opinion of the wise, the two pieces are the right material of all metals. Hermes. Therefore whoever will come and take a wife and impregnate her, ill her and make her alive again, bring in the light and cleanse his face of the sword and the darkness, he will be the most worthy of all when we give our crowned king a gentle turn to our red sun, and then they will conceive and give birth to a new red sun, then the clouds that were with them will come back into their womb just as they left. Arnoldus. So keep in mind whether he has a persistent and temperate bet that he dissolves into an incomprehensible water and that the entire tincture comes out in the black color, that is a sign of the right dissolution. The dark house. Here the water begins to turn white in large quantities and the dragon eats its own wings. And then it will become a dragon that eats its own wings and lets out many different colors, then it will move in many ways from one color to the other until it comes to a consistent color. Aristoteles philosopher. This most joyful animal should not be fed unless it is hungry and thirsty, and know that it will not be hungry and thirsty for more than 3 days. This is where the dragon was born, and his house is a nut of darkness, and swords in all these dwellings, death and a nut of darkness fly away over the same sea, and the dragon makes the rays of the sun permanent, who guards the holes, and our dead son will come to life, and the king will come out of the vow, and he will be himself when the hay is harvested together and the hidden things are revealed here. The virgin's milk is whitened and our son is now made alive, he becomes a fighter with the tinctures unsurpassable. The dark house of the wise men. Here he cleanses himself of the sword and becomes white as milk. Take the black, the sword is black, then many colors and colors will appear in it and the virgin milk will be whitened. Hermes. And when our sulfur came to life, he became a combative man against the fire, excelling with tinctures. Arnoldus. The clouds rise up from the sea and then rain rains down onto the earth, then every heavy and thick body falls down onto the earth. But the living mercury from which the air supplements all things is pure water, and the right tincture which the bell spit has separated, then this is the white sulfur which only the metal prophesies, through which the spirit is preserved so that it does not flee away. The teacher of this book. A spiritual person had this word in the history of the revelation of our Lord Jesus Christ, which has never been heard by anyone or found written in books, so you should know that the neck of the vessel is the raven's head, which means, you kill a dove and after that the phoenix was happy. Everyone here understands the entire mastery of white and red with these few words. And ashes of ashes. The black mists descended onto their bodies from which they arose and became a union between the earth and the water and became an ashes. But because nature does not move then only through the action of the verm, if you mask the verm well, the water and water will obey you, then they will cleanse the body and multiply it and take away its darkness. The water lives in the air to the earth like iron to the magnet. Arnoldus. Therefore you should work all this order of preparation on it for the 4th time and calcine it the last time in its consolidating and calcined way and manner, then you will have completely ruled the most delicious and noble earth of the stone with a stately hand. But calcining or turning it into lime is no different than drying the material and turning it into ashes. Therefore burn it without fear until it becomes ashes. If it has now become ashes, you have mixed it well. These ashes should not be disrespected, but rather give them the sweat that they threw out. Arnoldus. Now that the water has been completely increased and anchored in the earth, it should rot in its vessel for several days on soft earth until the noble white color compensates for it. In this vessel all the colors of this world will appear and the moisture will be dried out. Arnoldus. The water that has gone out from him, give it back to him until it becomes permanent and cannot separate from him in the fire, that is, the sword that is separated from the body should be brought back onto his body from which it came out and become a corpus. The white roses. Elixir album. I am the elixir on the white that I convert all imperfect metals into the silver that is better than the silver from ore. From this elixir 1,000 parts of the living mercury are converted into the purest silver. Arnoldus. Make the ladanum white, which is the body, and set it against one, break the book so that your heart is not broken, then our cause is in little need of little help. He who made me white, he also makes me red. White and red all spring from one root. What was history in the white and history in the red too? That's why, my son, if you work white and do it diligently and smoke too much, if you don't have the goal in your work, if you are happy in your work, if you understand this properly, you will be shocked by astonishment, fear and horror if you see if the whole thing is long, then it will be accomplished through long cooking. Hermes. You should know that the sunflower is the stone of the stones, so fry it every day until it becomes long enough like a glittering marble stone, and know when it will shine. So you have the great secret. Then there is a stone that surpasses all other stones. Arnoldus. This time your dearest son has taught you how to close the white thing. But from now on it is necessary to promise about the red one, but it is only because you made the white first, so the right red color cannot be made. Then no one can come from the first to the third, then only through the other. So you won't be able to get from the black color to the gold color just through the white, because the gold color is added to the pure black color in addition to the white color. Therefore you should make the black color white, and then you should color the white red. Then you have the mastery, just like our year is divided into fourth part. The first part is the cold, damp and rainy night of winter. The other part is the warm, damp and blooming spring. The third is the warm, dry and red summer. The fourth is the cold and dry autumn, a time to collect the fruits. With this order the tinged natures should rule until they bring the rich moisture with them. But now the winter has passed, the rain has stopped and the flowers have appeared in our land in the time of spring. But we rested on the white roses, then they were the ones who turned the black bodies into a solid silver. Therefore, if you see these white ones appear surpassing in everything, you can be sure and certain that the redness is hidden in the same white ones. Then you should not take the same white ones out of the oven, but should cook them until the entire material turns red. The red roses. Elixir Rubio. I am the elixir to the redness, of which I turn all imperfect bodies into the purest gold, which is better than gold made from ore. And if you throw a part of this elixir into 1,000 parts of the living mercury, we have found that it coagulated it and made it red, that it was converted into the very best, purest and most genuine gold. Nilius Philosophus. At the end the Lord will go out, the king crowned with his royal crown will shine as the sun, clear as the carfuncle, nimbly liquid as a wax, persistent in the fure, penetrate and retain the living quicksilver. Arnoldus. The red color comes from complete dehydration, then the blood does not grow in the person, it is then that it is previously boiled in the liver. And we also know that we have not slept enough when we get up in the morning and see that our urine is white. But if we go to bed and then go limp, then our duong will be completed and our urine will turn yellow. So the white can also come to the red through boiling. If the fure towns are ruled, our white mossing will also be cooked diligently, and it will be the best it can be turned red. This is where these following words come from. In front of the white, it should not be red, but rather give its bright glow. It should not boil, but it should rest in criminals until it has its appearance, until it absorbs the green and the red color composes out of white. Therefore it should be boiled in a dry fermentation and dry calcination until it becomes red like vermilion. Afterwards you should not add water or anything else to it until it is completely red and boiled. Nilius. If it is true that it has become red through further cooking, then it will give a color of eternal gold. It is a herb that is called a drop dunak a lot. This medicine is made from it and is found on a high mountain in the field to the end. Then in the number of 7 days all work is understood, so in the 7th number everything is formed and made permanent. This work often starts again and the distillers open it through 7 whites, but the day remains in order. Mark the properties of this stone of ours. So he also has a powerful virtue to cure all kinds of illnesses above all other medicines of the doctor. Then he delights the mind, strengthens the strength, preserves the virtue and lays down old age. He does not let the blood rot nor that too take over, nor burn the choram or the melancholia, rather he multiplies the blood over the masses and purifies it. He cleanses what is in the spiritual members, and in turn he strengthens all the physical members and protects them from harm. He then heals all heat and cold illnesses above all other medicines, so that the illness would have been warded off in a whole year. It was on the 12th day, but it was an old illness if the long year had been. He will heal in a month and recently persuade him, so he drives out all evil moisture and creates good moisture, instead of which he gives favor and honor to this stone, and in this the highest secret of the deliciousness of the whole world is accomplished, a most noble treasure to which no thing can be compared. God has kept his mind on the same, so that he does not reveal it or will reveal it to the ignorant. This book is called God's gift. And so the noble gift of God is accomplished, which is a secret nut and an incomparable treasure. Then, as Plato says, whoever has this gift of God has the Keechterthum or the promise of the whole world. Then he has come to the end of wealth and has broken the bond of nature, and not just because he is able to transform all imperfect bodies into the purest gold and silver, but mostly because he can protect and preserve humans and any other animal from all diseases. The crystalline plate, which is the white elixir, if you give a large mustard seed to a person with a fever, it will also heal him. If you cleanse a leper with the same plate through the 4 tides of the year, he will be healthy and rid of the leprosy, and so someone will be cured of the evil leprosy. The disease is called elephantiasis, with the red powder from which the saffron is made 2 times in the jar, namely in the Murtzin and autumn months. It is cured when the red and white powder makes healthy the falling in danger of death, also cures the paralysis. And if the powder of a woman in her birth is mistaken for the wet holes, she will be taken care of. This is what Hermes says. But Geber says that the red elixir cures all long-term illnesses that have caused despair at the doctors and brings people back to life so that they can regenerate like an eagle, and that they live for 500 years and have lived even longer than many wise men. Then they have such an elixir used 3 times a week, as big as a mustard seed. It is a herb that is called Saturnus from the cannel from which such a medicine is made. Then every one like it is stirked its like, and every one like it is happy about its shape. Every gender delights in its own gender. Therefore, note that all illnesses that extend from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet, and if the illness was 1 month old, it will be healed in 1 day, but if it was 1 year old, it will be healed in 1 month. Then because if it heals all imperfect metals from all illnesses, it also heals all human bodies. For this reason our set stone is not called indecent, the great Tidriac, just as much of the human body as of metal, of which Hermes says, a king of the Greeks and a father of the wise. If you eat more than 3 mustard seeds of our elixir every day every 7 days, your gray hair will fall from your head and black hair will grow in its place, and you will turn an old man into a young one. Hermes. But this book is called the book about the composition of alchemy, and what alchemy is and what its composition is. The Latin language has not yet recognized this name and composition of alchemy. In contemporary speech it puts this unknown and wonderful name under the interpretation of clarity. But Hermes and other wise men after him put this name out and say in the Book of Metamorphosis, the essential alchemy is a corporeal entity put together apart from one another, which is the most noble thing through art and effect, and put together with one another, and the same with natural mixing into a better sexual relationship. Thomas Aquinas. The transformation of metals is therefore that the essence of one thing is reversed into the essence of another thing, as Aristotle and Avicenna say. The artists of alchemy should know that the form of the metals can never be reversed, but it is written afterwards that the same form will then be formed again, brought into its first material. The same material is closest and most similar to all metals, especially the living mercurio. But first of all, this same material is a water, but such water is very much attached and related to nature as natural, as well as helping nature through art. And through these difficult things you have become many fools, who through this art have spent your youth and have lost your wealth. You have done so much work that is completely useless. It was described to these uninformed people that whether you gave away everything you had with this work, it would depend on whether your art would despair, and you would never be able to get the peace you wanted. But I look at everything like the kings had subtle workers who then hardly or not at all come to the perfect end. I believed that art was not or was just, but I went within myself and looked at the books of the secrets of Aristotle and Avicenna and found them in the truth, although they therefore confused and explained it incorrectly, and also because of the books of their opponents and found them. I also tried the natural approach and found that the art could be carried out through it. Then I saw that the living mercury penetrated through the metals and that other metals grew from them, so I can see that no one wanted to force themselves to do the work for the sake of things that are still to be learned. He is then very well experienced in the natural beginnings and well practiced and understood in the direction of distillation, coagulation, salvation, and most of all in the government of the coupler, that he is not a person who wants to rush but rather who wants to be slow. And who with which, because one wants to act neatly and carefully, It is a stone that grows in an animal-like manner and is then extracted from it the virtue of the white color or the clear red, so that they do not add anything, and is extracted through the separation of the 4 elements of their purification and assembly in the name of the Lord. Take a pound of it, rub it small and hard on a marble stone and separate it with 1.5 pounds of common oil, and it will become like a dough. If you throw it a little on some of the metals, and it will turn into pretty good silver or gold. There the 4 elements are hardened and purified with one mind and body, and even though I didn't burn this work, I still notice it natural, and I also believe that everyone is well aware of it. But Avicenna in Epistolae ad Hermetem Oren, his cousin, describes this work in great detail, and if I had time I would have described this work properly. Mirror. But so that you can understand the right opinion all the more clearly, we want to show you in which hour and on which day and also in which month one should begin our mastery, and we say whoever works differently will certainly err and miss, and whoever works according to our commandment will certainly see the true, righteous art and the right mastery. Therefore we command that one should take the philosopher's stone with all of its essence, and that one should take out of the same stone its purest and most subtle essence, and that one should place it in the vessel of the philosopher, and that one seal the mouth hole of the vessel after using it wise men, and that he should be placed in the oven of the wise men when the sun sets. But all this must happen on a Monday, and this work should take place in the middle of the Christmas month, so-called December, and will begin until half the month of January under the sign of Capricorn, and then the wise of the wise men should be lit through the entire sign and beyond. The work is governed according to the usage of the wise, and I strive to ensure that all the fleeting material is made permanent in the signs of Capricorn. Mirror. So great should be the heat that you can keep your hands unharmed between the turns of the oven in such a heat. Let it stand until you see the material start to turn black, and whether it has been delayed for too long so that it doesn't turn black, so strengthen the fure a little, and then you will see that the material will become difficult. So be happy then. This is the beginning of the duong. Then keep the fure in a steady state until all the colors will have passed away, and when you see now the material will become white in large quantities, so let the fire burn more and more until it turns into a perfect, permanent white color. Then it has had enough and the white has become white. But the fire should be controlled very slowly according to the indication of the material until it increases to the white color. Geber in his book called Summa in the 16th chapter of Natural Things and Fengen. It is to be noted that after our stone will be cleansed and completely cleansed of all destructive things, and then it will be hewn, there is no need for any further removal of the vessel nor for the same to be opened, but only that God will protect it so that it does not break. And that is why the wise men said that it would be accomplished in a vessel complete mastery, and is to know that in 40 days and in so many nights will be accomplished. The work on the white color after proper cleaning may not be determined at any time, then only how the artist will work, and will be completed in 60 or 90 days on the red, or immediately in 91 days, mostly, and these are the right one's goal and time for the complete completion of the work. And if you come to this, then praise the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.